Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming to the latest edition of Talents Unlimited Toastmasters podcast. We meet on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. California time. I'm glad that we're all here. Today, our topic of discussion is Memorial Day. Robert, what is Memorial Day to you? Because to me, a lot of people get confused. They think, oh, it's the same as Veterans Day, but there's actually a distinct difference between the two. What's the difference, sir?
Well, Memorial Day is about recognizing those who have made the ultimate sacrifice, to include those who have incurred sacrifices such as injuries, perhaps even psychological uh, injuries. But you're right. That's what Memorial Day means to me, and that's what I believe it's intended for. The flag, as an example, uh, is a form of part of the sacrifice in Memorial Day with respect to the red in in the flag. But you're
So,
right. Go ahead. I'm
Memorial
sorry.
Day is for remembering all those people who gave their life to protect this country. And when you mention the flag, it just reminds me of an old saying that our flag does not fly by the wind that blows it. It flies by the last breath of every serviceman who gave their life for this country.
I've never heard that before. That's great. I mean, that's something new and something that I will definitely cherish.
But what do we all do on Memorial Day? What's your favorite thing to do on Memorial Day, Carolyn?
Well, my favorite thing to do on Memorial Day really is absolutely nothing. For the longest time, now growing up, I don't remember ever celebrating Memorial Day. I think I started celebrating Memorial Day when I started working for AT&T because it was a holiday. Now, back in the day when my daughter was going to school, it was not a holiday for the children. They went to school on Memorial Day. So on Memorial Day, I would normally take her to school, come back home, and probably rearrange furniture in my house. Because at one time I had a habit of I didn't like for stuff to stay in one place, so I changed places. I changed the furniture around a lot. So normally that's what I did on Memorial Day while my daughter was uh she was at school. So normally I don't do a lot on Memorial Day. I have read a lot of things. We were supposed to go to an event, but we did not do that on Memorial Day. We just stayed at home. So normally I don't do a lot on Memorial Day, but I did read that we're not supposed to say Happy Memorial Day because it's not a day like Christmas. It's a day to honor the soldiers that died in battle. Not just any soldier, but the one that died on the battlefield protecting us. So that is what Memorial Day is actually all about.
Right. Well, I don't know. To me, growing up, a lot of kids did the barbecue type stuff, right? So they had the picnics and things like that. For them, it was the signal of the beginning of summer. Hey, summer's here, school's out, that kind of thing. But you're right. It's about honoring the soldiers who died in battle. And most of the time, I think only people or families that have members in the military actually celebrate it properly. I haven't seen many otherwise. Well, Martin, what's your take on that?
Wow, I got you choking here. Um, so we had a busy weekend. We started Friday with my firstborn grandson. He graduated from high school, from Paraclete High School. We had his party on Friday, and Saturday we had another celebration for a couple birthdays. And Sunday was somewhat a relaxing day, and then Monday we barbecued some hamburgers. Uh, Put my flag out on Sunday evening, and I did have a light to light up the flag at night because I know there are some neighbors around here that they keep an eye on that. Make sure that if you're gonna have your flag out at night, it's lit up. So so it was kind of like I said, it was a busy uh, weekend, and yeah, I think Memorial Day for me, it's just a reminder of the servicemen and women who gave their lives, for our freedom. Yeah, it's interesting. We do have some, like my daughter is active in the Coast Guard, a flight nurse as a reserve, and one of my son-in-laws he's a former uh, serviceman. And my wife, Monday, she sent him a text, thank you for your service. And right away, my daughter replied, Mom, it's not Veterans Day, it's Memorial Day. So I go, oh, what's the difference? Someone had to explain it. There's a lot of people that still kind of get the two, mixed up, the Memorial Day and Veterans Day. So we had like I said, it was a busy but fun weekend because we had my daughter visiting from Virginia. We don't get to see her very often. It was nice. It was a nice get together, and had a lot of friends over on Friday for my grandson's post graduation party. It was like
Awesome.
that. Yesterday was even though I don't have to commute anymore for work, I just go from one room to the other room, and I'm in my office. Like, oh my gosh, it feels weird. I've been out for 5 days, and now I have to go start my computer again. So I had a like I said, it was busy but enjoyable weekend with family and friends.
Awesome. Great that you had an enjoyable weekend at least. Flora, how are you? Calling all Floras. Well, we get to see the presence of her picture anyway. There
Because
she is. Hey Flora, how are you?
I'm great. All is well with me.
Awesome. We haven't seen you in a
As soon as you guys start calling on me, Danny starts. But all is well in my household.
Hi Danny, miss you.
Okay, I'm gonna cut off now.
Oh, you don't want to answer anything about what you did for Memorial Day?
No.
Oh. So over the Memorial Day weekend, I did do the praying for remembrance of our fallen soldiers. It was heartfelt for me because I did serve in the military. And while I didn't see people dying in the war zone, I do know of several service members who have died. It was something that I needed to do every year. I'm glad that it
If I
happened I'm glad that I remembered. No. I'm glad that other people have the time to celebrate and remember the lives of those who have helped make this country as great as it is and protected it from nefarious characters. Right, so who can tell me anything else about Memorial Day?
Well, it, when did it start? Let me ask that question. And it wasn't called a Memorial Day.
It
When it
wasn't?
was actually recognized. No, no.
Was that?
I'll give you a hint. It was the Civil War.
Uh-huh.
It was after the Civil War. And it was not called Memorial Day then. Anyone want to take a guess?
Uh, who knows? Armistice Day?
No, and I don't have access to Google right now.
Day of the war.
Day.
What day was it, Carolyn?
Wouldn't they call Armistice Day? It was called Decoration Day. That's what it was called.
Declaration Day.
Decoration, like Decoration Day. It was a day to decorate the graves of lost loved ones.
Hmm.
And as you elaborated a little bit on, Jim, that people do in fact do decorate some of these headstones, if you will, with flags. Many, even in private cemeteries, with flags. So it goes to what Carolyn was just conveyed here about the decoration. I never thought about it that way, Carolyn, about Decoration Day. I mean, not the decoration of the flag, if you will.
It was a great. It originated following the Civil War and became an official federal holiday in 1971.
Wow, that's pretty recent. Don't you think, Jim? I mean,
Well, that's
1971?
when it became the last Monday. That's when it became the last Monday. Okay.
So was it always, as far as you recall, Jim, Martin, was it prior to Memorial Day? Was it called Decoration Day up to that point? I'm just kind of curious about that.
I've always only known it as Memorial Day.
Yeah, me too. I wasn't here yet in the US in 71, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I only remember afterwards.
That don't mean it wasn't called Memorial Day. That's just when it became a federal holiday,
Okay.
when people could
Okay.
get off from work.
Yeah.
See, I started working in 1974. So it was a holiday when I started the workforce.
I think I had a tissue back then that's when I was still had a runny nose, running around with a runny nose. So, but I'm kind of curious if what it was called or when that transition actually took place from Decoration Day
Google
to
it.
Memorial Day. Interesting, interesting.
Go ahead and Google it.
Right here, let me see. me see here, let's see. When did Decoration Day?
Well, in 1966, the federal government declared Waterloo, New York as the official birthplace of Memorial Day. Waterloo had been celebrating the day annually since May 5th, 1866. During this community-wide events, businesses closed and residents decorated the graves of soldiers with flowers and flags.
And that was on what day? May what?
May 5th.
May 5th. Cinco de Mayo.
Mhm.
Yeah, it says here that it was, Decoration Day was widely observed in 1868. The term Memorial Day gradually became more common after World War II. It wasn't until 1967 that Memorial Day was declared the official name by federal law. Here we go. And then I guess, as you indicated, Carolyn, in 1971, it became a holiday, a national holiday. Something, but when Jim initially asked the question about what is Memorial Day, what does it mean to me, and then it's the ultimate sacrifice, obviously, and we do celebrate Veterans Day for all those who served in various services, Coast Guard, Navy, and such. But what about those who incurred injury? Where would they fall in?
To do what?
Where would they fall in?
Who?
They will fall on the Veterans Day. They veterans. Anybody that served is a veteran.
Correct.
Yes.
So they don't get special, they don't have a special day.
Well, anyone that served and is out of the military is a veteran.
Mhm.
Right.
If they're still in the military, they're not veterans, they're on active duty.
But what about those individuals, those service veterans that incurred injury?
Injury? What about them?
Should they receive the same kind of recognition as Memorial Day? I mean, it is a sacrifice.
No.
I'm just giving my personal opinion.
Yeah, the answer would be no. They get Veterans Day. And if they have injuries or whatever, they're compensated for the rest of their life.
That's true. That's true. It is it's kind of odd. We talked about people confusing veterans with memorial. And Sunday night, or maybe it was even Monday night, Memorial Day, somebody was shooting fireworks in the middle of the night, and I'm just thinking, really? You're celebrating sacrifice with fireworks? Is that how we do that nowadays?
But some people do fireworks for every holiday. That's just they think they like fireworks, so they just think they celebrate with fireworks.
It's a good excuse.
So a little perplexing there, a little perplexing. But Veterans Day is I mean, I've done it before, and I'm sure everyone here has done it, where I see a veteran, and especially if the person's an old sea dog, some wearing his Enterprise hat or Midway, perhaps, a senior sailor. A lot of Army, a lot of soldiers, but it's not common out here where I'm at to see somebody in the Navy, a battleship hat or something like that. And I'll buy them.
Not
Buy them
likely.
their dinner. Yeah. No.
They would be somewhere closer to the water.
Yeah, you find them in
Yeah.
San Diego.
Exactly. Yeah, probably. Probably.
You might find a few like me who venture out to where you are. But even I didn't stay there long. I'm back here by the water again.
So anyways, yeah, and it's a solemn, kind of subdued day. And I didn't get too crazy myself on that day. It was more subdued. I mean, I went to the beach, relaxed just for the day, and came back, but nothing really crazy, like drinking beers or anything like that. So, a lot of flags out here. None at night. None of them were at night, Martin.
No, but I heard that there were a lot of people that traveled. They said it was one of the busiest time at the airports. Maybe because it was like for us, it was a 4-day weekend. They gave us Friday and Monday off.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I don't know if a lot of companies were doing that, but I heard that it was a really, really busy travel weekend. Maybe people were traveling to areas where it was warm. They go to the beach like you. I stay away from the beach. It's too cold. The water's too cold for me.
For me too. When I think about going to the beach, I think about where the water is warm. Going to the beach here is no fun for me. So,
No. That we went to Myrtle Beach 3 years ago, I believe. Oh, and the water was so nice and warm. It was the first time I went in the water in probably 35 years. Because it's just for the same reason is that the water is so cold. Like, what's there to enjoy when the water's so cold? And
I guess that
if you're out of the water, you're roasting in the sun. I go, it doesn't seem fun to me. But when we went to Myrtle Beach, like I said, the water was clean and it was warm, and you couldn't get me out of the water. That it was one of the best vacation times that I had in a long time.
Jim,
Like-
I'm going to ask you a question because I don't know. I have no idea. Perhaps I can ask my father. He was in the Navy, but I never asked him this. So I'm going to give you the first time I ever asked this question. When you are out at sea, I don't want to use the word cruise because it kind of gives a wrong impression that you're just kind of living it up, swimming pools and things like that on board ship. But when you're out there, is that considered a mission? What is it called? I mean, what is it? I mean, and if it is, are you actually would you be considered actually deployed in harm's way?
You
I'm sorry, go ahead.
you are considered deployed. Usually what happens is you get to play war games with other ships while you're out there.
Okay.
So it's a constant constant readiness thing. And of course, you go on trips to different places, right? So
Mhm.
it's not like, oh, you're gonna go out to sea for a week and come back to the same place. So if you go on what's called a Westpac, so the Western Pacific, so it's a 9-month tour. You go out and tour 9 months and you go visit different countries over in the Western Pacific. We get an East Pack, we'll be up and down the west coast of the Americas. You can get different ones over in the Atlantic, so you go visit Europe and the different places in Europe. So it depends on which tour you're taking at the time. But every single one all have the same basic stuff, right? So you're out there playing war games and you're always preparing for the eventuality that, uh-oh, something might happen and everyone needs to be prepared. You can't
Mhm.
you can't expect sailors or anyone to go into a war without being prepared for what's gonna happen.
Mhm.
So you practice. And that's what we do.
So if an individual perishes while being deployed out at sea, practicing these type of this preparation, is that considered part of Memorial Day?
No,
Is that, I mean, that's sacrifice? I mean, I would. No, it's not.
no, Memorial Day is for those who died in the war protecting this country. So if we were at an actual war, like the Vietnam War, and someone died
Mhm.
during the Vietnam War, that would be considered Memorial Day.
Okay.
So you
So
guys,
Robert, you did not serve? Robert
No,
did not serve?
no, ma'am. No, my father did. He was I'm a Navy brat. That's-
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a Navy brat.
yeah,
But go ahead, Jim.
I think I'm currently the only one in the club that actually serves.
However, I do recall when my father, he was on a destroyer, and they have different type of destroyers. One of them was a destroyer. They're destroyer escorts. I guess they're DEs, Jim.
DEs or FFs. So DEs were back in the days before they became frigates.
Okay. My dad was on a DD.
Uh-huh.
What is a DD?
I forget the designation.
Okay.
Well, it's a destroyer.
Yeah. So if the DE became or transitioned to a frigate, then the next level up, next level would be a destroyer. Would
Well,
that be accurate?
a DE is a destroyer escort. So what that
Okay.
is, that is a destroyer that is escorting a carrier group,
Okay.
and then frigates took over.
Okay. Well, anyway, to expand a little bit, when my father was in the Navy, they used to have dependence cruises,
Yes,
and
that's
we
usually on
used
the
to
way back.
go. So we used to. So I was on a dependence cruise,
Uh-huh.
and it was a blast. I mean, that bow was just doing this, right? It was just.
Yep.
I mean, it wasn't during a typhoon or anything, obviously, but they didn't have missiles. They were the big guns, if you will. I don't know what they call. I don't know how many millimeter they are, but I got to go on it during a dependence cruise, and that bow was just doing this, and I didn't get seasick at all. As a matter of fact, I was always hungry. I kept the cooks going, you know. So
So you usually a Dependence cruise would be one that happens on the way back from overseas. So you might pick up the ship in Hawaii and then it travels from Hawaii
Yeah,
to San Diego.
that's exactly what happened. That's
Yeah.
exactly what happened.
So he's deployed overseas for 6 months or 9 months or something, and then on the way back, you pick up some of the family early.
And believe me, Carol, just I had to earn my keep.
Well, of
Okay,
course,
so it wasn't just
nothing's free.
I had to earn my keep, and no, Jim, you would know better than anybody. I did not have to kiss King Neptune.
No, you didn't cross the equator, so you're okay.
No, no. I guess I'm still a pollywog.
Yes, you are.
But the crew did, you know, they were all young, and they would tease me about the male buoy.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, go. You need to go out there and see if that mail buoy's out there. We got mail coming in. So I mean, obviously there was a sailor with me. You know, I didn't get too close to the edge, you know, to the bow.
Yeah, of course.
Just keep an eye. Keep an eye. I know that mail's out there.
It's not the summer, we gotta pick it up.
That's fun. That was funny. I mean, it was, you know, it was something, and being on a destroyer, you know, which is, you know, it wasn't the largest thing, but
Well,
you
from
know,
a kid's
it kind of
perspective,
put things in.
you're only, what, 10, 11 years old? So from a
Yeah,
kid's perspective, it's huge.
yeah, yeah. You're right. I did end up with a lot of bruises on my head and shins. Yeah, I don't know if you know this, Carolyn, but you go to these doors, if you will,
Hatches.
the hatches, and they're all steel. These things are all steel, and the lip, there's a lip on the hatch that protrudes. And I kid you not, I don't know how many times I ended up banging my shins
Mm.
or my head. You know, because sometimes I would step on the hatch, Jim, and I
Uh-huh.
would
And
plunk.
knock your head up, going, standing up, yeah. Seen people do that. But they have all those hatches, they have to have the lip. The lip
Yeah.
is necessary, right? Because if you don't have the lip, you can't make an airtight seal.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, right. So the door, the part that swings has a rubber gasket all the way
Mhm.
around. So that when you close it and batten down the hatch, it creates an airtight seal around it so water doesn't get through. So you can compartmentalize everything. So if you take a hit in the mid centers, it only floods that one piece in the mid center and doesn't affect anything else elsewhere.
Mhm. I imagine that saved many a ship in World War II, huh?
I'm sure it did. So it was funny,
Interesting.
you guys talking about going swimming in the warm water. So I grew up in the Northeast, right? So to me, when summer comes around, it's like 60 degrees outside. We go swimming already. We don't worry about the warm water. That is warm for us.
But I think it doesn't bother people that like to swim, that like water. I don't like water that like that well, so
Hmm.
it have to be really warm for me to get in the water.
Oh. Yeah, I remember one time my sister came down during December to Pensacola. And we took her family and my family down to the beach. Now, there's a lot of people on the beach, but they're all dressed. Some of them have coats and sweaters and all that kind. And my sister and I just jumped into the water in our bathing suits. We stayed in the water for like 3 hours. People thought we were nuts.
You said it was in December.
It was in December, yes.
Okay, so the water
Wow.
there is cold in December?
Yes.
Okay.
The water was probably down to like 50 degrees, 60 degrees.
Oh, wow.
But for us, that's swimming time. We didn't care.
Right.
Alrighty then.
I think,
It was good to have everybody here. I'm glad that we got to reminisce a little bit about Memorial Day and the things that we do on Memorial Day. Like to remind everybody that we are Talents Unlimited. We meet here every Wednesday at 7 o'clock California time. Thank you everyone for coming, and I hope to see you again next week. Bye.